So let me go backwards for a second because we were talking about Bad Boy kind of coming down off its high. And then there started to be a new crop of artists that, Black Rob, he had his Whoa hit,
G-Dep, special delivery.
Like literally, artists started to pull their weight, put the logo and the brand on their back and go. And then in walks a kid from Brooklyn. Shout to my little brother, Shyne.
Shyne. Woof.
Shyne comes in, but here's why I love Shyne to this day. For one of the most stand-up, thorough dudes you're ever gonna make. So that's number one.
Absolutely.
But number two, if you remember, Shyne was not immediately received well.
Not at all.
Within the rap community.
First he sounds like Jay-Z, then he sounds like Big. Everybody was, but I'll never forget sitting at Daddy's house and him, he'll tell me who wanna bang with us, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. And I never seen Puff so excited in a long time. He ran from behind the booth and jumped into the vocal booth. And you got it, we got it. And I was just like, that's magic. That was magic. And seeing that made me say, yo, he's gonna do something. Shyne is gonna be something. But you gotta remember, Shyne had the Range Rover. Shyne had the Rollie with the diamonds. Shyne was moving and he was shaking and people were just, looking at him like, why don't I have that?
Nah, but you want to know something, Cruz? And I don't want to go down that direction because I need young artists to understand what I'm about to say right now. Shyne, he wasn't received well in the beginning. And I spent... myself, people like Malcolm Miles, June, Shan, the whole, like I remember literally being on the road with this kid for months and months and months on end. And he thugged his way through this industry. And I don't mean thug his way in terms of, I'm forcing you to play my records. I'm forcing you to, his work ethic was crazy. Like he was by any means necessary. Like he looked at Puff, he embodied that culture that we had at the label during that time. And Shyne, I would come to work and Shyne would be sitting in my office.
Yeah, in office.
Prez, who do I need to call? Yep. Prez, I don't want to stop calling people until we go out to the clubs at night. That was one of the only artists that was so proactive and was like, I'm taking my future in my own hand and I know I got to put the work in so that people will not just hear my voice and compare me to somebody else. And eventually it happens. So Shyne that's what every artist need to do.
He absorbed a lot by watching the successes and the losses. Shyne was smart enough to strategize his future by watching everything that was going on around him and sticking right next to Puff. They were inseparable for a long time.
But he's a hard worker, man.
But let's also be clear. Shyne never skipped a step. And back then, there were different steps.
Correct, yep.
There were a lot of different steps. It was a different ball game back then. There was a lot of different things you had to do. There's a lot of hands you had to shake, a lot of conversations you had to have, a lot of deals that had to be cut. There were a lot of things that Shyne said, okay, I'm going to build this step by step and not skip any. And that was part of his success because he strategized that whole thing and learned from everything around him. So his knowledge, because Bad Boy was a PhD master's degree when you worked at Bad Boy in 3 months. You know what I'm saying? Like I like to say we were trained at gunpoint, not literally, but it was, you had to keep up because if you didn't keep up and do your job, you was going to get left behind.
Nah, Bad Boy is the Green Berets. I mean, people can go into the
SEAL
service.
Team 6, baby. SEAL
God
Team 6.
bless you. You go in, you do your time. Bad Boy was the Green Berets. It was Army Rangers. It was the Navy SEALs. It just was something different. And if you survived and if you really was part of the core, it meant that you were above average. And when you left, see, it just was a culture for us in terms of the work ethic, in terms of just making things happen, not taking no for an answer. But when you left, you realized that you were light years ahead of what could be even considered competition. Let me ask you, was you in the club that night? You said you left in 2000. Was you in the club that night?
No, but I was invited to the club that night.
Really?
You know, I got a phone call. You know, and he was like, "Yo, we're coming to the city." Blah blah. And I'm with family. You know, holidays are for family for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I think it's just a cultural thing. And I didn't want to go to Club New York that night. And I think, you know, they were trying to get in. The weather was bad. You know, they couldn't fly in on a helicopter. You know, a white limo showed up. And, you know, you let Puff tell the story, you could, you know, look at his videos, you know what I'm saying? He should have known better. But I did get the call right after. And I did get the call to come pick up the street team truck that I had. Was a Black Expedition because the Navigator got taken, so I was tight. But no, I wasn't there, but I was there in spirit because of the pain that we all felt at that time. You know what I mean? Like, you got to understand, we are, I won't say were, we will always be a family. And when one of us is hurt, we're all hurt. When one of us is down, we're all down. When one of us is in pain, we're all in pain. And I think at that time, whether I was there or not, I was there in spirit because I'm bad boy for life. You know what I'm saying? And that'll never change. You know, and I'm violator for life too, don't get me wrong. Bad boy was my training ground. Bad boy built me. My DNA is Puff Daddy, Chris Lighty, and a guy named Steve Rifkind. So I could never, ever disregard, discredit, or talk negatively about my experience there because it got me to where I wanted to be. It made me the man that I am, and it created the opportunity for me to take care of my family, friends, and then to pay it forward to others. So what I learned at Bad Boy was priceless. What I continue to learn from friends like you and people that I still talk to from those days like Jeff Burrows and even Puff, I just spoke to the other day, is priceless. And that will never, ever change. You can never take that away. Your experience is what makes you a man. And you got to build your own philosophy. But learning from the philosophy of others and taking what works for you and taking what doesn't and throwing it away makes that philosophy. And a lot of my philosophy was built on can't stop, won't stop. Bad boy for life. Bad boy family.
Yep. You're right. And before we segue, you keep mentioning the street team, and I got to give a shout out again. I got to give a shout out to
June Balloon, Shan the Butcher, Malcolm Miles, Shawn Prez, Tucker Ho. Like
Jay Black, but
Jay Black.
also to me,
Super Mario. Hey, listen, Super Mario.
Yeah, Super Mario. And to me, probably one of the most amazing street team captains ever to walk planet Earth is Jerome. My man Rome Ferguson. To me, Rome took the game to a whole other level. So shout to Rome. Cruz, I want to get into your tenure over at Violator Manager. Yeah. So Puff gives you the green light. You go to Violator.
No. Time out. I got to give him more credit. He didn't give me the green light. He unlocked the door, opened the door, and pushed me through. Let's be clear. Let's be clear on that because I had no rhyme or reason to take a job that was maybe a quarter of the money that I was being offered at the time. I'm trying to solidify my future, my family's future. I did not understand the value of the knowledge that I was going to gain. I did not understand the opportunity that was presented to me. Because when I got to Violator, I remember there was a club called Le Poulet. And Chris and I go out for the first time. Now, you got to understand, shout to Chris Lighty, may he rest in peace. He is my brother. He is my mentor. He was my arch nemesis for a while. We'll get into that. But Chris and I never truly got along. Because remember, Chris ran a club called The Tunnel with Jessica Rosenblum. And if y'all don't do y'all research, The Tunnel was it. If you got that record spun between 1:30 and 2, you had a monster on your hands. When Big Cat, may he rest in peace, and Flex touched those wheels of steel with your record, and that club went off, you knew what you had. So when Chris ran that, I would always be the guy with the vinyl under the arm trying to get in, but who am I? I'm nobody. Jessica Rosenblum, shout to Stressica. I cannot tell you how important Jessica Rosenblum was to the hip-hop industry, to the hip-hop nightlife, to Puff Daddy, to Chris Lighty. She was in the middle of so much, and she was the person that introduced me to Sean Combs, and she was the person that introduced me to Chris Lighty. So I would love and honor that woman to the day I die, because she gave me and opened up opportunities for me that I thought I would never have. So Chris and I never really rocked, but Jessica would sneak me in the side. So I'd be in the tunnel chilling. I'd be in the booth. They're like, who is this retail kid in the booth? Who is it? This is before Bad Boy. I'll never forget one night, it's like 5:30 in the morning. I see Chris walk out with a bag, a bulletproof vest, and he gets into his Range Rover. He just looks at me, and I look at him. He nods, and I nod. And that was the first time we made eye contact, but we never spoken. But we knew the nightlife was important because we see each other at the Red Zone, we see each other at other clubs. So Chris and I go out to Le Poulet one night, and Chris walks up to the door, and he goes, oh, James Cruz is here. Everybody move. James Cruz is here. James Cruz is here. James Cruz is here. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, this man trying to play me right now? Like, what's all this about? But he was co-signing me because Chris has so much strength in the nightlife. Jessica Rosenblum had a conversation with Chris Lighty. Chris said, I need a right-hand man. I need a marketing guy. I need somebody to come in and help me run this thing. Who do you got? And I'll never forget, Jessica said to him, I said, listen, Chris, there's one person I'm thinking about. If I had to walk away from the rope at a door, it's probably the only person I trust to run that door right. And people don't understand how important the door was back then. And that came from running the door for Puff. Whether it was Club Exit, whether it was the all-white party in the Hamptons, wherever Puff threw a party, I was at that door because I knew I was going to shake hands and meet people that I wasn't going to be able to come in contact with. Whether it was Madonna, or whether it was the head of urban radio at Radio 1, or whether it was the head of iHeart, which was different back then, I was able to say hello to them. And when Jessica said that to Chris, it was the cosign of a lifetime because Chris said, okay, let's do it. And when we did it and we walked into Le Poulet, Chris puts his arm around me and walks in and said, you ready for this ride? And I wasn't. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready because I did not know. I was handed off two superstars when I got to Violator. One, his name was Busta Rhymes. Two, her name was Missy Elliott. They fell under my management corner with the help of Mona Scott, of course, because Missy was Mona's baby. We had another artist by the name of LL Cool J. Now, you got to understand, at that time, we were friends with the artists. We had real conversations with them. We were on the road for months at a time with the artists. We slept in the same room, 4, 5, 6 deep with the artists. And I'll never forget, LL had a record, and we had a meeting, and the record wasn't working. And like I said, I wasn't ready. I said to LL Cool J, yo, that record ain't working. We got to switch gears. I'll never forget, LL was sitting like this. LL just looked up, like, why are you talking? This is LL Cool J, living icon in hip hop. And I'm talking to him like he's my best friend. First time I met the guy. I wasn't ready because I didn't have the couth, because I was just so blatantly honest. Chris respected that because ain't nobody else was going to tell LL that. Chris was definitely not going to tell LL that. Eric Nix was running A&R at the time. Eric Nix had done the record. I had offended not one but two people. I had to learn the psychology of management. People think management is booking a show and going on the road and signing a multi-million-dollar deal. Let me explain something to you. A manager has to be your leader, your best friend, the most honest person in your life. It's like a marriage. Manager has to be selfless. A manager has to put their artist's dreams, desires, and everything that that artist wants in their life ahead of what they want. You got to sacrifice your time with family, sacrifice your time alone. You got to put that artist first. That's something Lighty taught me. Lighty pulls me to the side and says, yo, thank you for saying that, but you could have said it a little differently. And I learned a very valuable lesson right then and there. But you gotta understand, this is before the big sneaker deals. This is before the branding deals. It wasn't cool to do branding deals early on in the music business. MC Hammer got a check and a half from Kentucky Fried Chicken for popcorn chicken, but he got shitted on by the community because he sold out. Back then, there was this sellout conversation if somebody took money from a brand. But we were in the business of, LL had FUBU. Remember that Gap commercial? For us, by us, on the low. Todd snuck that in there. Genius. This is the time Arsenio Hall, when Snoop Dogg went on Arsenio wearing the Tommy Hilfiger shirt. You couldn't find that shirt in any store in America the day after that Arsenio Hall performance. So there were little flashes of branding opportunities. Busta, Mountain Dew commercial. A lot of people don't know is Missy Elliott was supposed to have a liquor brand. Patron was coming in to do a deal with Missy Elliott. But because her demographic, her fan base was younger, it kind of fell apart. Now, this guy named Curtis Jackson walks in the room. Now, everything I learned at Bad Boy, everything Chris had with LL and learned at Def Jam, everything that was put together with that all-star squad, Jimmy Iovine, Dr. Dre, Eminem, now it was like stars aligned and it was an opportunity to take all this knowledge, this training at gunpoint, I like to say, and put it towards one defined straight arrow path. And that was G-Unit.